Hello, I wanted to talk a little bit about the story behind that song, Whisper Sweet, and got a bonus section here on this video at the very end that I'll talk about. So this is a song about a declining mall, and it's sort of an allegory about the empty nest, but it was sung by Catherine Juarez and produced by Ben, and they did an outstanding job of putting this together. And what this is, I mean, the genesis is it started as a poem, and then I turned into lyrics, and then came up with a chordal sequence and a refrain and things like this, and then turned it over to Ven and Catherine, and they did a great job with it. So Ven is a professional name of the producer, and he did a great job. And I want to just talk a little bit about that to the extent that I can. I'm going to include the link to his outlets in the comments below. But so this started with a visit to our local mall, which is declining. And I went there a little while ago, and I've been writing poetry all my life, and I was inspired to write a poem there because not only because of the decline, but also the artifacts, the elements within the mall reminded me of my time with my children, and they kissed the air with their memories. And I picked those up, and I watched the few people that were there, reminded me of my in-laws, and there were just a lot of memories evoked by that material culture that's presented in the mall. So, and we did goofy things. I mean, we'd play in the aisles and play hide and seek, and we'd go on the carousel they had there, and just got a reprieve from hot summers and cold winters. And it's not that even that we went there that often, but it was kind of a little oasis in a way. So some really sweet memories. And then with my in-laws, they were there a lot to buy things, often for the grandkids. And of course, my wife would go there too. And it was, a special place in the sense that it was a place to be alone together, as I wrote. You have a community of people that just want to see lights and decorations and other people. And so it provided a refuge. And to see it decline is really striking because it's something you don't really expect in its heyday. And again, it's sort of an allegory to the empty nest in a way, where your children grow up and leave, and you're left with a life situation that is quite different. So that was sort of the genesis of it. And actually I could talk a lot about it, but all the elements of the poem describe these things. And then to turn those into lyrics was something, because when you turn a poem into a song, which is important because people don't read poetry generally, but they listen to songs. But you have to do things. You have to get rid of words. You have to focus on the rhyming and the meter of the song. And so there's sort of compromises necessary, so it's less of the poem. And but that's the way it is, and that's necessary. And then when you turn it into, well, at least in this case, you had to drop a few more words, literally 3, I think, to make it turn into the song. And then moving into the musical realm that I did with the chords and the refrain, and some of that was taken to a much higher degree by the vocal talents of Catherine and the production talents of Ven, and they went with it, and I'm really impressed because they picked up on the emotional content of it, and it's reflected very richly. And again, I'll try to link this to Ven's stuff so that can be maybe presented further. You can see it maybe with all the commentary. But when I first heard the final version, I was really floored. They'd slowed the meter down and done some really interesting layering to get some good effects. And one of the things that was a challenge is they were kind of constrained by what I had written, both in terms of the lyrics and the structure. But the chordal repetition in the piano was sort of like a heartbeat. You have to listen to it at least twice. If you don't listen, I thought anyway, you have to listen to it the second time to get a sense for it. And I was really, really very happy with how that came out, and I give them a lot of accolades for doing that. So they have another track that I'll put at the end of this, which is with some more freedom of expression. So they included some violin and some percussion, And I'll include that in here at the end. So that's kind of the sequence. I just want to talk about it a little bit because I thought it was interesting. And with then, I mean, the sophistication applied in terms of musical production was really impressive. And it was coupled with his heart and passion for music. So you have this technical sophistication with handling the range of reverb and exactly how you handle the layering and the filtering and so many of these other effects that require great insight into audio engineering. But you couple that with just a love of music and a love of communicating that way. So I think there's sort of the hierarchy in communicating things where poetry is at one base level, or I should say writing, prose, is at one base level where it's very descriptive and you can kind of say everything you want. That's really good. And then poetry is using language in surprising ways and is more sparse, tries to evoke emotional responses in a more abrupt way than does prose. And then you kind of move up to I'll say the top of the hierarchy with visual arts. So you look at an image and you get a response to the image that you painted or drew. And that's powerful. Now there's a projection from the viewer and you don't de-art the art, as a colleague of mine would say. So there's more than that, but visual art lets you present images or thoughts very quickly, I should say. Kind of the opposite of prose. And in the middle there is music, because music requires time, just like poetry does, and certainly reading. So music has this really quick emotional response, but it does require more than investment from the listener than do the visual arts. So there's that kind, so you have to be patient with music a bit and engage it you can debate this, but more richly than the visual arts, because the visual arts you can get this sort of, it's kind of like perfume, you get this first impact that is very fast. And anyway, that's kind of going on and on. So what else to say about this? So again, I guess at the end of the day, I'd like to think of this more as an allegory to changes in life, whether it's empty nesting or whatever happens where something that was important to you before is no longer in the same way. You can never go home. And so here it's reflected upon in the form of a mall that is physically declining. So I am gonna put their song here at the end, and in its sort of newer or a more personal form from Catherine and Ben, and I hope you enjoy that. Thank you.
Looking glass wants a color, silent corner wants a laughter, hands held hands and feet gathered, a place to be alone together. And no man reads a book, his wife looks at them.